So it
Wow.
takes someone who knows a lot about breath work to know what kind of effect a person needs to regulate their system.
That is so interesting. I feel like there
Yeah,
could be a million episodes just on breath work alone. And it's like, it's
yeah,
something that we all do so unconsciously, but
right.
it holds so much power. It's like, it's almost, for me personally, I'm like, well, yeah, breathing, check, it's done. I do it. I don't have to worry about it. But it is actually a practice that can benefit you so much.
Yeah, and most people breathe improperly on a baseline, like without thinking. Their unconscious
No
breath
way.
is, yeah, most people breathe straight into the chest. That is reverse of what you want to do. You want the abdomen to expand first and then expand the chest. So, yeah, if you don't do that, you're going to have higher levels of anxiety, depression, stress, all that kind of stuff.
And is
So,
that possible to train yourself? Can you
yeah,
get yourself
absolutely.
to do
Yeah.
it like without thinking then?
Yeah, because that's how we started out. So as babies,
Okay.
as
Yeah,
kids, you
babies, their
naturally,
little
right.
tummies. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so when the body, quote unquote, remembers that that's what it originally was doing anyways, those
Ah.
circuits are already built in. You don't have to like build new wiring or anything. So when you, yeah, it can take a little practice to get the body to
Mhm.
start that again, but not much. And it's extremely beneficial for health. So we should put in the time.
Absolutely. That is
Yeah.
some wonderful advice. Let's talk teas and tonics because from my research, I don't believe you recommend much medication itself, pharmaceuticals, I mean.
Well, as an Ayurvedic doctor in the States, I can't and don't and wouldn't want to
Okay.
anyways,
Yeah, yeah,
recommend any allopathic medication. That's
yeah.
something only an MD can do.
Yes.
Um, but as far as Ayurvedic herbal formulations go, there are, again, thousands and thousands of thousands. And I commonly suggest herbal regimens for people,
Mm.
but I like to manage expectation, especially
Okay.
growing up in the West. There's this deeply seated expectation that if I take this supplement, I'll be better.
Oh, yeah. Quick fix. I'll
Yeah,
feel it.
right,
I'll see it. Yeah.
right. Or if I take these 8 supplements, I'll be better.
Eight times as good.
Right, which is just not how it works. Like, there's no Ayurvedic herb that's going to counteract McDonald's.
No, there's
Right,
nothing in the world that can counteract a
right.
McDonald's.
So, most of the force of someone's healing is going to be based on their lifestyle, diet,
Yes.
relationships with other people and other beings, like animals, that we don't, dogs, cats, cows, fish, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and all of that is going to have a much bigger impact. But having said that, herbs and plants and things like that can help. They can help 20, 30%.
Wow. Well, that's quite a margin
Yeah.
for
So it's
something
great.
natural.
Yeah, it's great, but it's not going to work if you don't do all the rest of the work.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
would love to touch on how you treat addiction because I feel like that for me, I don't see how that falls under your umbrella of care. But I would love to know if somebody came to you as maybe a drug addict or an alcoholic, how do you apply your knowledge to that issue?
Okay. So addiction is a very insidious disease.
Hmm.
Insidious meaning subtle, progressive, and very tricky.
Yeah.
Um, and it is a disease. It's not a matter of willpower. It's not a matter of fighting the addiction. It's a pathology inside the mind body system that has a life of its own, basically.
Okay.
So it's in the scope of Ayurveda because Ayurveda has whole texts devoted to addiction. It's a human condition that's been around forever since humans. So it's not new to the modern world or anything like that. And it's very tricky because Ayurveda classifies it as a form of insanity.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean the whole person's insane.
Hmm.
It means that a facet of their mind has been warped into a it doesn't function normally, so you can't have like a rational conversation with it, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Or even you can't even have a good emotional conversation with it. It doesn't. it plays by its own rules.
Yeah, it's not rational.
It's nothing even close to that.
Yeah.
Um, and so the approach in helping a person not enter into that space in their mind is something that Ayurveda focuses on,
Hmm.
making sure that they maintain sanity and don't engage the insane aspect of their psyche.
Okay.
And it's not a coincidence, because it's pointing to the same thing. But basically, most 12-step programs in Ayurveda share the same philosophy.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because it's the same. It's the
Yeah,
same.
yeah.
Yeah.
You in
Um,
dealing with the quote unquote insanity, like when you're owning up or whatever it is, or I don't know what it is in the 12 steps where you apologize to people or where you kind of own all your issues. I'm sure that's another practice because that would be helping that part of the disease.
Right. Yeah, it's making amends.
Yeah, that's
So in
that's it,
Ayurveda,
making amends.
that's called sattva chikitsa.
Okay.
Chikitsa just means protocol, and sattva means the essence or fundamental truth of something.
Mm,
So Ayurveda believes that basically staying deeply in touch with the truth, at least as far as someone can get into the truth, is the way to stay sane, the way to keep the mind stable. So making amends is a practice of making sure that the truth stays present within a relationship.
yes.
And then, 12 steps and Ayurveda are full of methods of, basically engendering a deep sense of honesty, which is
Mm,
necessary to keep addiction at bay, because both 12 steps and Ayurveda acknowledge that once an addiction has taken root, it
mm.
can be managed, it can be contained, but it will never go away completely.
Yes. Yeah.
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 Wow.
So that's the basic idea. I deal with a lot of addiction, especially food addiction. Um,
Mm,
a lot of people don't realize they're dealing with an addiction when they are.
wow.
That's not to say everyone's an addict. By far and away, no. And there's a whole discernment process of saying, like, hey, are you just abusing food because you're having a hard day? Are you having too many drinks because you're having a hard day? Or are we dealing with an addiction?
Yeah.
Because the approach is completely different. If someone's just having a hard day, a hard month, a hard year, they can use their willpower to get
Mm,
better. If they're
okay.
dealing with an addiction, they cannot. Willpower will make it worse.
And how do you differentiate that when somebody comes to you? Is it just through talking with them?
Yeah, usually patterns of behavior. Um, and it's not easy. It's hard to sometimes discern. I mean, sometimes it's obvious, but
Yeah.
a lot of times it's like, ooh, it takes 5, 6, 7 conversations to say, okay, this sounds like an addiction, not
Okay.
just abusing a substance.
Yeah. It's a bit
Yeah,
of trial and error, I would imagine, involved.
sure.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I would like to take a moment to introduce you to our app, Yoga Plus. You will have access to an incredible selection of videos led by top instructors in yoga, fitness, nutrition, and so much more. Download our Yoga Plus app available on iOS and Android today.